going on, everyone? So, Granges over on Twitter ended up sharing this stat, and I'm going to go over it because I do think it's very interesting and really highlights a big problem that the Lakers have had the last two seasons. So, the D'Lo, AR, Vando, Braun, and AD lineup has shot 52% on their threes over the past two seasons in the regular season. They shot 34% between play-in and playoff games on threes with the same group. Their overall performance, regular season, a plus 65 in only 109 minutes, because you got to remember last season, they only shared like 60 possessions together, 68 possessions together, right? Like, one, Vando was out pretty much the whole season, but even when he was there, Darvin Ham refused to play this lineup for whatever reason, even though it was our best lineup, but I digress. And then the postseason is a -6 in 194 minutes. Now, obviously, this is just like the three-point shooting and three-point percentage, but it highlights the bigger picture with some of the role guys for the Lakers. And you even saw it in this last playoff run, not just from the Lakers, but all the teams. And we'll dive into that here in a moment. But obviously, D'Angelo Russell, we know regular season, he's prime Steph Curry, playoffs, he's Seth Curry, right? But in all seriousness, right, like there's two very different D'Los from regular season to postseason. Now, a lot of it has been kind of highlighted by the Denver Nuggets, because if you look at, season and a half ago, or I guess you could say 2 seasons ago by now, you look at D'Lo in that Grizzlies series as well as the Warriors series, and he was actually very good in those series. I mean, he single-handedly saved us. In that Grizzlies series. And then even in the Warriors series, he was excellent in like the third quarters. He had, I think it was game 4 off the top of my head, where he had that, like, where he scored like 14 or something like that in the third quarter to basically change the tide of the game. Right? And then got to Denver, and Bruce Brown basically turned him into a little kid, and then, he played Denver again, and D'Lo was better, right? D'Lo was better in this playoff run than he was, or against Denver in this playoff run, than the previous year, but still, right? There is this glaring concern. Now, something that I do think to have like an optimistic outlook, and it's for all of our guys. I don't want to just kind of beat down on D'Lo, because it's not just D'Lo, right? I mean, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, right? All these guys have had their struggles come the playoffs. But like, you look at D'Angelo Russell in particular, because we're talking about him at the moment, and you look at the first playoff run, and then you look at this playoff run, and again, he was much better, right? So is that growth? Is that him gaining experience to start getting more comfortable? You got to keep in mind, he was only in the playoffs, 2 other times before coming to the Lakers? So he wasn't this perennial playoff performer who just every year he's in the playoffs going on deep playoff runs, right? Like with the Lakers, that was his first real deep playoff run. The other 2 times he was first round exit. So, the best way to kind of turn that around is through experience, right? The more you're in that situation, the more you're in those environments, and the more comfortable you start to become, the more comfortable you can get. And so I do think that there is an optimistic outlook of like, okay, D'Lo, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, like these guys should hopefully, with more experience, with another playoff run, kind of get more comfortable and get in that position, right? But like, even Austin Reeves, right? You look at last year as a whole, that whole season last year, I'm sure he would want back if he could. He was just incredibly inconsistent, very inefficient, and he had his moments, right? And then even in the playoffs, like I talk about all the time, he really didn't show up till game 4. And at that point, it was too late. Now, I know some people, look up his stats and go, but he scored, 9 in game 1 and 12 in game 2 and 15 in game 3. But again, watch the games. Watch Austin Reeves and his body language. Now, I will give him credit. He actually did a good job defending Jamal Murray compared to like what he was defensively in the regular season. But he wasn't aggressive, right? Game 4, you saw a different Austin Reeves. You saw Austin Reeves getting to his spots, being aggressive, keeping the defense on their toes, right? Rather than settling. Austin Reaves all season, I talked about how he really almost felt like, and that's why I kind of buy the tired legs. Yeah, it's an excuse, but, I do kind of buy it. Because he wasn't as crafty. He wasn't as, relentless as he was in the previous season, right? The reason Austin Reaves was so great and kind of had this emergence is because he was constantly in attack mode, right? He was constantly just keeping the defense guessing on their toes. His shot was a lot better, right? He shot nearly 40% from 3-point range the previous year, right? Which opened up things for everything else. Because, you look like, there was like a quarter of the season where he was shooting like 28% from 3, right? He couldn't shoot last year. And it made things difficult in all the other areas because now, if I know you can't shoot, I'm not going to be all up. I'm not going to be face guarding you and I'm going to be all up in your space, in your zone. No, I'm going to sag off. If you want to take that shot, sure, go ahead, take that shot. But I'm not going to let you get into the teeth of the defense, right? I'll live with the result, right? So that's something that Austin Reaves hopefully can improve and play on, right? We go as far as our role players take us. Talked about it last playoffs. And again, you look at all the teams, right? You had Denver. Denver's role players showed up. The Lakers didn't, right? Again, Austin Reaves really didn't look like Austin Reaves till game 4. D'Angelo Russell showed up in 2.5 of the games. So basically half the games in which they played. Rui Hachimura might as well not even been on the basketball court. Right? We didn't have Jared Vanderbilt, but we didn't have a lot of these guys, right? But they're role guys. Michael Porter Jr. hit big shots. Michael Porter Jr. was so bad in that Memphis series that Mike Malone had to come out and defend him, right? And talked about how I had to pull him aside and tell him we wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for that. Jamal Murray had his struggles in the Lakers series. He was great down the stretch, but he even had his struggles. It was the role guys. It was Aaron Gordon, right? It was, again, KCP. It was the role guys making the big plays, and the Lakers guys weren't. Then Denver ran into Minnesota, and Minnesota's role guys showed up. Denver's didn't. Denver went home. Then Minnesota plays Dallas. Dallas's guys show up, right? You had guys playing defense like they were all Jared Vanderbilt, and you had Derrick Jones Jr. shooting 45% from 3. It was crazy, right? But their guys showed up. Minnesota's didn't, right? They didn't play the way that they did against Denver, and then all of a sudden they're going home. Same thing. Dallas gets to the NBA Finals. Boston shows up. Their role guys don't. Right, all of a sudden, P.J. Washington is irrelevant. Derrick Jones Jr. can't shoot to save his life. Right, all these things, all the role players go away, and boom, once again, right, the Dallas ends up losing, and Boston wins the championship. So we go as far as our role players take us. Obviously, LeBron James and Anthony Davis are the guys. We're really right in their backs, but we know what we're going to get from them. They're going to show up. They're not the problem. It's the consistency. Again, Rui Hachimura was unbelievable in the regular season. He was shooting 43% or something like that for 3-point range. He's shooting nearly 60% 2-point range. The guy was having a career year last season. And then we got to the playoffs and he was unplayable. He couldn't hit a shot to save his life. He couldn't defend. He couldn't do anything, which is odd because the previous 2 years, one with Washington and then the year with the Lakers, the two previous playoff runs, he actually was very good and shot the lights out and looked unbelievable. But again, you got into that Denver series and he wasn't the same. And then once again, we played Denver again this year and he wasn't the same. So could it be that it's just Denver's just a bad matchup? That's always a possibility, right? You just see sometimes teams are just, for whatever reason, they just have their number, right? Guys don't show up the way that they usually do and all that stuff. Right? It's just how it goes sometime. But, again, the fact that no one showed up twice, right? And it's basically LeBron James and Anthony Davis carrying the workload and everyone else is just kind of chipping in pennies. It's tough. We need our role guys better. Now, obviously, if we can get a trade or something like that before the season begins or at the trade deadline or whatever, maybe that changes things, right? Maybe you get a guy that is more proven and and has the experience, right? Maybe you get a guy like Jeremy Grant who, he's been to conference finals and has, played in the playoffs and has hit shots and whatnot, right? So maybe he's a little more comfortable in that spot. But at the end of the day, we're still going to need guys to deliver, right? If our role guys don't show up, that's it, right? If our role guys show up, Lakers win, right? It's very simple. It's a very simple formula, right? Lakers, we need other guys besides LeBron James and Anthony Davis. We can't be playing 2-on-5 every game, right? You look at the games with the Lakers, right? In Denver. First half, guys are cooking. Guys are hitting shots, right? Guys are feeling good about themselves. Then we get to the second half and boom, like when things start ramping up and, Denver starts picking things up and playing tighter defense, taking it a little more serious, Lakers just crumble. Right? So, again, it's just we got to do a better job of not crumbling, so to speak, or we got to get guys that don't crumble. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? Are you kind of in the middle? Are you kind of mixed about it? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.